podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome to Howie the Podcast. It's Gav and you join us on another special occasion as Sunderland are heading into the playoffs once again, playing a familiar foe in Coventry City. And as we're building up to the game, we thought we'd grab a few different people this week. We've got lots coming this week for you on the pod feeds. I'm actually currently in Amsterdam, sat in the airport, so if I sound a little bit different, that's why. But hopefully we can get through this in one piece. And I am having the pleasure of being joined by Stuart from All Things Sky Blue. Hey, mate.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
How are you feeling ahead of this set of games? Because, and I'll let you answer this before I tell you for why I'm asking, but I think it's fair to say that between the two teams, we're probably feeling a little bit differently, particularly ahead of the first leg.
Yeah, if I'm honest, you're probably the team that we were hoping that we would get. We were hoping that we would finish fifth and get you. I think, you know, just going off the two games that we've played this season in the league, you know, we've kind of done it. So if the playoffs were the two games in the league, then we're through to the final. You are on a little bit of a difficult run. But I'm not counting my chickens just yet because we know that you can turn up. It has been a while, I know, since you have turned up, because I think you've lost 5 on the bounce, I think. But, you know, you are the team that, you know, in terms of form-wise, you are the team that we did want, really. And, yeah, I just think psychologically we might have the edge, especially at home. I do think we have to keep a clean sheet in the home leg because I think you will definitely score at home. It just depends on how many you score. But I think if we keep a clean sheet and we can keep it tight at your place, I think we might just edge it. But I think it will be close. I'm not getting under any illusions that we're going to completely turn you over because I just don't think that's going to happen. It's not the way Coventry do things anyway, to be fair. We do things the hard way. So it wouldn't surprise me that if we even lose 1-0 and might do you 2-0 at your place or something weird like that, you know, but our away form isn't great. So I think we are more relying on our home form at the moment.
I think if we'd won the last 5, I would have been just as lacking in confidence because...
Really?
It's Coventry. We haven't beat you since 1985, I believe.
Yeah, I know. But I know. I just... Look, records are there to be broken. You know, we had records against Swansea and Preston, and we've done them both this year under Lampard. I think Lampard is a key factor. You know, because he's been there before with Derby. And this is one of the reasons when you look back at the appointment, when I certainly looked at it, it made sense because he'd been in that way with Derby, you know. So he's been there. He knows what it's like to lose there. But with Lampard, he's a born winner. And hopefully, you know, we got over the line. Out of the teams on the last day of the season in the playoffs, we were the only team to win. So, you know, if you go in by a little bit of momentum, I'm not saying we're in great form because we're not. But if we're going in terms of momentum going into the playoffs, then I think we're the team to look out for. That's not being biased at all. I just think that we have got players that can hurt other teams. I'm not saying that you can't. You've got, you know, De Vries is a good manager. You've got Bellingham. You know, you've got a lot of people that were in team of the season. You know, and I just think that we're the team that nobody really wanted to face going into the playoffs. So I think we stand that I think we're one of the strongest sides in the playoff places.
Yeah, I would agree with the thing you said there about being the team nobody wants to play, because Sunderland fans certainly were hoping to avoid Coventry. But as you said, records are there to be broken, and when we won the playoffs in League One, we'd actually had a really rotten run of results at Wembley, where I think it was
Oh, okay.
nine straight visits to Wembley where we hadn't won. So, we've been here before with this sort of thing, but the difference this time around from a Sunderland perspective is that we aren't going into this with momentum. Now, you mentioned you guys won on the last day of the season, but you have had a bit of a difficult run recently, haven't you? It's not all been plain sailing going into it.
No, not by any stretch. We had the game before Middlesbrough with 2 away games against two teams that they got relegated. In Plymouth and Luton. So they both went down. They were both fighting for their lives. We didn't. Away from home, for some reason, we haven't given a great account of ourselves, and that's why at your place it is going to be vital that we turn that around, because our away form the whole of the season, not just the back end, the whole of the season really hasn't been great away from home. We've had some okay results. I remember Blackburn away, one of Lampard's first away games, I think it was. He was tactically better. I think it was Eustace that was in charge at the time. He was tactically better than Eustace was. So I think that hopefully puts us in good stead for the away leg. But the home one is, for me, is the key. If we can come away with a victory, like I said, I think we do need a clean sheet. But if we can come away with a victory, whatever victory it is, the home form for me is the key one, really. And I think Lampard might slightly not have the edge as such, but I think he just might be a bit more tactically aware, just because he's been there with Derby before, like I've mentioned already. He's been there, and I think Lampard's key to this as well.
You were mentioning before about clean sheets and stuff, and that it just came to my mind there that the guy who played in goal on the final day of the season, Ben Wilson, is a massive Sunderland fan.
He is, yeah.
That's an interesting little side story, isn't it? That the goalkeeper could potentially be having a massive say. I mean, if it went to penalties, Ben Wilson could be saving the penalties or letting the penalties go by him for the team he grew up supporting. I mean, I know. You would never accuse a player of not being there to do their job and stuff, but it's just a strange one, isn't it?
It is really strange. And to be fair, Wilson's been out injured for a long time. We have had issues with the goalkeeper all season, really. Even before Lampard came in, all 3 goalkeepers that we had, Dovin, Collins and Wilson, had all played. It's it is a tricky situation, our goalkeeping situation, that unlike any other club, I think, really, because normally you have a set in stone number 1 and everybody else is just kind of backup, but it hasn't worked out that way. We have had goalkeepers out of form, but Wilson came in against Middlesbrough on Saturday and he was just absolutely brilliant. He's exactly what we've been missing. Breath of fresh air. We got the 2-0 win over Middlesbrough. And it looks like he's going to be there to retain his place against, like you said, his boyhood club. I think he's from Sunderland as well. But Ben Wilson, even though he's probably still a Sunderland fan, is also a Coventry fan and a Coventry player. And, this will be the third, if we get there, if we get past you guys, this will be the 3rd season in a row that we've got to Wembley. Because last year we got there in the semi-final of the FA Cup against Manchester United. The year before was the playoff final against Luton. And it just feels 3rd time lucky that we get that victory at Wembley. And it just seems that Ben Wilson's come back at the right time. He had a really good performance against Middlesbrough. So, we should be full of confidence going in, especially at home against you guys' first leg. Like I've already mentioned, the second leg is going to be a little bit more difficult just because of our away form. But, if we can get a win against you, that's 2 wins on the bounce, going into the away game with a full fit Ben Wilson, confidence, as long as we don't get any injuries in the first leg, if we can stay relatively quite healthy. We've got a couple of players hopefully might be coming back. De Silva might be back from suspension as well. So yeah, we're going with full optimism into our game at the CBS Arena, definitely on the first leg.
You mentioned there about losing the last two times at Wembley over the last 2 years. Is there a feeling within the fan base that could sort of hang over the players at all, that they've failed in the last 2 years at Wembley? And because that used to weigh heavy on Sunderland. I mean, I remember when we did win at Wembley against Wickham in League One, and all the press seemed to want to ask the manager at the time, Alex Neil, was about that record at Wembley. I mean, ours was a lot worse than Coventry's. We'd been there 9 times and not won.
Yeah.
It became the narrative of the not just that final, but pretty much every trip. Every other time we've been to Wembley, it's always been, well, Sunderland's record at Wembley is terrible, and we eventually got over that hoodoo against Wickham. So is there any sort of feeling within the fan base with Coventry fans that this time it might weigh on the players a little bit?
No, not really. Not that I sense, to be fair, because obviously, if you go back to last year, in the semi-final against Manchester United, we still argue that we won that 4-3 anyway, regardless of what VAR did to us. The season before, it was it went to penalties. Penalties, you can flip a coin on penalties and it's just which way the wind blows kind of thing. So I wouldn't say that there was any hoodoo as such. I think if we don't make it across the line this time, maybe that there is something over Cov and getting to Wembley, or getting over the line at Wembley and seeing the last final game out. But yeah, no, not at the moment. I think we're full optimism. To be fair, I'm not saying that we're in shock that we're still that we made it to the playoffs, but when Lampard came in, I know it's all over social media and people are saying it all the time, but we were 2-3 points away from relegation zone. Lampard came in, didn't have, he had an okay start, and then we went on that 14-game unbeaten run, which was crazy and amazing. Some late winners within that as well, 96-minute, 97-minute winners and stuff. There's just at the moment, there's a lot of positivity around. And I still feel that the home game is the key leg for us.
Sunderland's form coming into this is interesting because, like I said, we've not come into this the best run of results. We've lost the last 5, and I suppose from the outside, that just looks really bad, doesn't it? We've lost 5 on the bounce, but I think within the fan base, there's been a realization that this has kind of been by design, not necessarily lose. We haven't gone out to lose on purpose, but there was a point when we knew we would definitely fall, that the manager started dropping players, resting players, and trying to get ready for these particular games. But the big debate is, is momentum important going into a playoff campaign? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I kind of think that form is, important going into these games, because you want that momentum from winning. Winning breeds winning, doesn't it? Regardless of whether you're dropping players, or not. We had to drop players because of injuries and things like that, and I think that's why we have struggled slightly in a few of the away games that we've had. Because I feel that you can't just flick a switch and expect everybody to be playing to the highest standard, that you want them to play at. So it's okay if you hit 4th space like you did, and you lose a couple of games because you're resting players and things like that, going into sort of the last 2-3 games, I would want to be getting into that momentum going into that playoff potential final and stuff and things like that. So I don't think you can just turn it on and off. And I think momentum, is key. So yeah, I just like I said, I think that the home form, especially for us, has been really good this year, especially under Lampard. You obviously you only came to our place a month ago or so, and we turned you over, and I think if we can do that again, if we can play half to the way we played against our game, sorry, at our place, and the game against Middlesbrough, I think if we can play to that standard, I think we'll stand a good chance to win that first leg. I still think the second leg is massively important at your place because, we know what it's like at the Stadium of Light anyway. It's a hard place to go. But if you lose again to us psychologically, we've done you twice at our place, and that's 6 in a row losses for you. Like I said, I don't think you can just turn it on and off, switch players in and out. It's okay resting players, but I think you still need that momentum going into it, where I don't think you have. It's not going to be an easy game because you have got the ability to turn up for possibly one game, or De Vries might be an absolute mastermind, and you might turn it on for the playoffs. I just think it's hard for players to get into that mindset when you have lost so many in a row. Like you said, if you'd lost 2 out the 5, and them 2 were the first 2 games when you'd cemented 4th place, it might be slightly different. But you're going in losing 5 games in a row, regardless of whether you wanted to rest players or not. I think that's a difficult situation to be in, really. But I think, as I keep mentioning, the first game is key at the CBS, I think.
Where do you think the game's actually won and lost then? Because when I think back to games against Coventry recently, a lot of the sort of times you beat us, I tend to think of like, you going with 3 in the middle and really overrunning us and stuff. But then in the game against us earlier in the season at Stadium of Light, you didn't quite do that. And I don't think there's the same sort of game plan. Obviously, things have changed now under Lampard. But where would you say the game's won and lost if from a Coventry perspective?
Yeah, obviously the game slightly changed, didn't it, when Haji Wright went off injured at your place anyway? Because Haji Wright was having a good game, to be fair. I think it just equalised as well. With the way that we're playing at the moment is we're still playing with that 3 in midfield. Obviously, we bought Grimes in January. He's been an absolute unbelievable signing. He's actually coming into his own now. Sheaf's back fully fit, and Sheaf and Grimes and Radoni, are a really good trio. They bounce off each other. Radoni is just everywhere at the minute. When I spoke about the player, the team of the year, for me it just gets done too early. I think it needs to be done at the end of the season, because Radoni is just, the past few games, he's been a one man army. Really, he's been that good. But we have got other players that can step up. Asante came on, and he had a really good 30-minute cameo. Haji Wright, we know Haji Wright can turn it on as well. I think the midfield battle will be key, and I think Grimes helps us in there massively. And, like I said already, Sheaf coming back, Radoni in there, Sakamoto on the right-hand side as well, Milan, Bobby Thomas coming back. I think, like I said, I think we're a team that on our day we can compete with anybody. On our day, it's whether we decide to turn up or not. And that's why, again, I'll go back and say that the first game at the CBS is key, because away from home, we haven't turned up enough. And, we know that we can get done completely when we're away from home. And that's why having, keeping a clean sheet at home, I think is going to be key. I might be completely and utterly wrong. But the way things have gone, that's the way I think that it's panned out at the moment.
Are you happy that you're playing the first game at home, or would you rather have had it the other way around?
Good question, really. I think I'm probably more happy that it's at home, because if we, for instance, if we do what we did at the CBS against you guys in the first leg and have that 3-0 victory, for instance, going at your place, holding that 3-0 win, I think, we could easily lose 2-0, but we still go through 3-2. You know what I mean? And that's why I think being at home, first leg for us at the moment is better, just because our away form is poor, because we could easily lose that away leg at your place. Maybe, 2-0, 2-1, and it's about what we did in the first leg. So yeah. I think for us at this moment, I think the first leg is the important leg for us being at home.
So you've obviously mentioned a lot of really big positives from a Coventry perspective there, but if you were looking at this from the other side of the fence, where can we poke holes and maybe exploit you a little bit?
I'm just trying. If I remember rightly, your strikers are quite quick.
Yeah.
And I think if you can beat the offside trap, then I think that's where you'll exploit us. You certainly would have done before Ben Wilson was in goal and playing as well as he did against Middlesbrough, because our goalkeeper hasn't been great, and he has had positional issues, and everything that seems to be shot at him just goes through him. And we've conceded too many goals like that for the whole of the season. When Dovin was in, when he went, had a really good spell, he was, one-on-ones, he was saving them brilliantly. Collins didn't do that, and I just hope Wilson continues in the form that Dovin was in. In our playoff year, Wilson got Golden Glove. He kept, I think it was 21 clean sheets in that season. So we know that he can keep clean sheets. But if you can beat the offside trap and get around our wing backs or full backs, I should say, then I think that will be key. So it will depend on how sort of Jobe Bellingham, if Jobe turns up, we know how good Jobe is. I think in the especially in the our game where we won 3-0, your man that you signed in January, he didn't play.
Enzo
Lafay, yeah, that's him. And he would be the one that I would be worried about as well, because I think, I saw what he did to Ayling when you played. Did you play Leeds? And he absolutely turned Middlesbrough, sorry, yeah, and he absolutely turned him inside out. I think Milan's a better player than Ayling is, because Ayling is getting a little bit older. But I know I've seen what he can do, and I would be worried about him. So if you guys turn up, it will be an absolutely brilliant spectacle, but it will be about what we do on our day, I think.
I'm inclined to agree, purely just because of the way we've been recently. But at the same time, there's part of me thinks that, surely we can't be as bad as we've been, because we've had a few ex-players on recently who basically said this, that, whilst from our perspective, we might think it's very, very difficult to just flick a switch and turn it on. A lot of the feedback we've had from ex-players is that the mentality going into such an important game is completely different to games that virtually mean nothing. So it's going to be a really interesting game. You sound really, really confident, and I understand why. I mean, I'm presuming you're going to predict the Coventry win on Friday?
Yeah. I never go against us anyway, regardless. Even if we were scrapping, even if we were down the bottom, and I'd never go against us really. The worst I'd ever do is a draw. But I think that we do need to score at our place, and ideally a clean sheet, or at least a two goal margin in it. I think that we can keep a clean sheet. So if you are asking for a prediction now, then I'm gonna say 2-0 win for Coventry, because we are good at home. And Ben Wilson, I think, has come back at the right time, and he's going to want to get one over on you as well, I think, or I hope anyway. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win, Cov.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens on Friday, Stuart. Where can people find your bits and pieces? Obviously, you've got Johnny on this week from Roker Report as well. So if people want to listen to you guys grill him, they can this week, can't they?
Yeah, we're We've got we're on live on YouTube X on Wednesday. With obviously, as you've just mentioned, with you guys on from Roker Report. We're on Twitter X. Or that is X, sorry. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all social media platforms. Just type in at All Things Sky Blue and you'll find us. But obviously, we are on YouTube and we will be live on Wednesday as well. So.
Well, I would usually say good luck for the rest of the season, but given that this is literally a knockout,
I know, yeah.
I will not say that on this occasion, but I will say thank you very much for joining us, mate. I really, really appreciate your time, and let's see how it all pans out.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Cheers, mate, and thanks to the listeners. Apologies if there's been a bit of audio problems today. I am in force, and we try and bring you as much as possible, even if we're in sticky situations like sat in a noisy airport lounge where it sounds like we're doing lots of work in the background. So I'll keep this short and sweet. Make sure you stay on the feed this week. We've got plenty of pods coming up. Fingers crossed we can get some positivity going before Friday, because I think we all need it. So, anyways, we'll see you later.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.